stop me. Cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find no matter what, yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies, before it flies. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find no matter what. Susceptible now, before the moment flies.
It does kill it.
You made the decision to play Thiago. Klopp doesn't change the system. Since move back left, you don't want to change from 4-3.
You're on mute, my friend.
Boom. I'm mute. I'm on mute.
No, you was just on mute just a second ago.
Oh Jesus, no, I went out. But big up, what's going on, people? Back again on the Jerry James Show for another episode of the Transfer Hub. I'm joined, as per usual. This is obviously our channel. I'm joined with G as well. We've got a lot to talk about, man. We've got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of talking points right now regarding Liverpool, and you know, I think the best place to start is obviously with the title of the video, man. Our transfer policy isn't adding up. It's not making sense. We're talking about a lot of players, and we're going for one profiler player. We end up signing a different profiler player in the in the summer transfer window. We're playing Elliott in midfield, but he's not the profile of player that we actually want. It's not making a lot of sense when you start to delve into it, man. But look, before we get started into it, how you doing, G, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm good, man. I'm just enjoying the rest, man. Like I'm able to do these videos. It's funny. I feel like lucky because this is a week where I get to just kind of relax a bit. But there's bare stuff going on with Liverpool, so it's like, this was the perfect week to kind of have off work and I can just kind of relax and you know, what I mean, we can just delve into it, man. But there's, as you said, bro, there's so many things to talk about. The title right underneath Jerry's picture there. Style over substance, man. I can't wait to get into it. I can't even lie to you, man. You all blessed?
Yeah, man, I'm good. Just gonna run through some of the comments. Look, there's 19 people in the building already from the jump. No promo, no nothing. So that's big up to you guys. If you don't want the interlude to run, and the interlude's gonna run, and me and you're gonna be vibes, and we need you to be on 19 likes, just straight off the bat. Actually, 20 likes because
now 20. Exactly.
21 likes because we're not watching it. But there's 8. Do you know what I mean? So I need you guys smashing the likes. Big up to everyone in the building. Ravi saying big up. Ravi straight off the bat just saying, look, never wanted Jude Bellingham. Never saw the hype on him. I don't think he's a player for Liverpool or better than Elliott or Carvalho. Don't think he fits our playing style. Overpriced.
I don't know about the Elliott Carvalho thing.
I don't know about that, but we'll get into it for you, man.
Before you even continue, bro. From what I can see here, it might be different on your screen. Guys, we are 1 subscriber away from 700. So if you are watching this video right now and you haven't subscribed, be our lucky number 700, man. Be our lucky number 700, man. You know what I mean? We're working hard. We're doing these videos. We're trying to get as much content out. Big up everyone that watched yesterday as well. You know, we got crazy views on that. The likes were brilliant. So guys, if you have not subscribed, if you got a burner account that you were using for YouTube Premium and your premium ended and you left it, run it.
Yeah, exactly. Log into your mum's account. Do something.
Yeah, bro, talk.
do something. Ravi's then obviously saying, look, we don't need to overpay for Jude when there are better out there for less. Our squad is crying out for 23 to 25-year-olds who are experienced, not prospects that might be good in 3 to 4 years' time. That's
we'll get into that.
Point. Very, very good point. We've got Doogie in the building saying a lot to talk about tonight. Wherever you're watching, it's not tonight yet over here, but wherever you're watching, yeah, there's a lot to talk about. We've got LVFC TV in the building saying, big up Jerry, big up gents, big up to yourself. We got
big up, bro.
Big up. We got Midway, up in the building as well. Loving the tune. We got Gio saying this tune, saying big up Jerry, killed it on Sam's channel yesterday. Appreciate it. Jamrock saying, look, straight off the bat as well, saying, look, it makes sense if we are transitioning into a more possession-based team. Yes, the irony is, though, we ain't got a manager that can play possession-based football effectively to the highest level. And on top of that, at every opportunity, we seem to be reverting back to type. And if you look at the profile of player that we're linked with, they're not the best possession-based players. They're not. You don't look at these players and go, wow, they're great possession-based players. If they were, they'd already be at Barca or Klopp, or Guardiola would have them. Do you know what I mean? So we're going to chat. We're going to chat here in the building saying big up. We got Angel as well. He's losing his mind saying, look, Bellingham is a quality player. He's losing it. Pondell saying, just subscribe. Love the content. You guys are keeping it real. Big up. Pondell.
Bro.
Check. Does that make it 700?
Let me check. Though.
I think he did. 701. We're on
701. That's what I like to see. So those two of you trying to not subscribe and that. Come on. That's what I like to see.
Big up. We got 30 people in the building. Listen, if you don't want the interlude to run, just as soon as you come in, like, because the interlude is going to run and then we're going to have to pause what we're talking about. But look, G.
Chat to me, dog.
Chat to me in generalities, how you feel about Liverpool's transfer policy, the transfer windows that we've had in general. Because there's some people that will say we have decent transfer windows, other people that think they're diabolical. What are we saying?
I'm probably in the middle, quite kind of in the middle. I think recruitment in terms of some of the players we got, decent. You know what I mean? Really, you know what? Actually, it probably have to even be phrased differently. Should we be looking at it and saying, have we had a good recruitment under Klopp or have we had a good recruitment under Linders? Because if you're talking about under Klopp, I mean, Klopp wanted, Van Dijk, he wanted Alisson, got those players in who were very pivotal to what we wanted to do. But at the same time, we all know about the story about Mo Salah. You know what I mean? He didn't really want Mo Salah, we weren't really feeling him. He wanted Julian Brandt. So it's a bit, and then, you look at the Minaminos. So obviously this is a bit later. So is that under Pep? Is that under Klopp? You look at Minaminos, the Shaqiris, obviously Nunes, Gakpo, Diaz, you look at all these kind of guys. And I think we're slowly moving away. In 1975, Jamrock, when you mentioned about, if we're trying to transition into this possession-based team, it's, Jerry kind of summed it up there, man. We haven't got a manager who knows how to play that type of football, which then links to, is it the assistant manager who's trying to kind of push his way there? And if so, something isn't marrying up. You get what I mean? I'm just a little bit confused with the transfer policy at the moment. I don't mind looking at players. Ravi was right in regards to looking at some players who are of a certain age. I 100% agree. I definitely disagree with Bellingham not being better than Elliott and Carvalho. I think, that's. I think even Jerry's better than Elliott and Carvalho, kind of thing. No disrespect to Jerry, you know what I mean? So, we got to, as much as we might talk about Bellingham and stuff like that. We got to look at it in context and stuff. So, some of the players we're looking at, I'm just a bit baffled. I'll be real with you, bro. I'm genuinely baffled as what is the profile here? Caicedo, Jude, Amrabat, Manu Kone, there's Mateus Nunes, Ruben Neves, Tielemans. There seems to be all of these guys are different kind of players. So what is the style? And this season, as we've seen with Klopp, man, he ain't really We played one style, kind of didn't work. Played a different style, semi-worked. Then reverted back to type when we got players back from injury. What's kind of going on, and it does point to kind of like the transfer committee, and I'm looking at it thinking, I don't really get what you guys are trying to do. Like, are you trying to shift to possession-based team? Then I expect to see possession-based players come into the squad, no problem. But then I expect the team to play that way. At the moment, we're doing intensity with technical players, so why not just play technical? It's all over the gaff, man. It's all over the gaff. But what do you kind of think when you look at it and you see how we're, as I said, linked to like a Jude, a Caicedo, Mateus Nunes looks like he's going to come in the summer. When you look at that and you look at the way that the team has played this season, what goes through your head?
A revert to type.
Mm.
A revert to type. So when I go in here, the likes of Bellingham, Caicedo, which people have said is almost like Gini Wijnaldum. That's what I've heard. Bellingham, a Henderson on steroids. This is what I've heard. Mateus Nunes, who's in that mold of a player, probably in that mold of an Oxlade-Chamberlain, that type of player, can carry with the ball. They all go back to the types of midfielders that fit a Klopp system. Now, what we're seeing right now is, in midfield anyway, after Thiago, any player that's played in midfield or come into midfield is so far removed from that. We've got the likes of Bajcetic, Thiago, Elliot, Carvalho that have all played in midfield that are so far removed from the types of midfielders that we'd associate with a Klopp type of team. Even going back to Dortmund, looks at the likes of Bender, Gundogan, like they're very, very different. Gundogan's obviously a special case, but you get my point. We had players in the academy, James Balagizi, that fits into that type of mold of a Klopp player. Tall, big presence, hard runner. And what we're seeing, what we're starting to see us do it regardless is we're looking at players that are in a younger age bracket than we did before. So when we bought Gini Wijnaldum, we didn't buy Gini Wijnaldum at 21. Like Gini Wijnaldum 24, 25. Henderson, Fabinho wasn't 21, was 24. We're looking to buy players younger than that, but that fit the style that Klopp wants to go and play. But that takes away from the types of players we've got. So, I mean, Jamrock's mentioned, you need a range of different players because you have multiple midfielders, and I get that to a certain extent. But not necessarily. When you looked at Liverpool's midfield when we won everything, they were in a similar profile of midfielder. They relied on athleticism a lot. Yes, Gini Wijnaldum, very underrated technically, but he was asked to do a role and could do that very, very, very well. Thiago's not doing that role very, very well. So that's what I'm talking about. Bellingham, Caicedo, Nunes, what have they all got in them? In Amrabat, all these people that we're linked with, what's the common denominator? They can run with the ball. They're strong. They're tall. They're young. They're athletic. We haven't gone for a Pedri, a Gavi. Those are different type of player. We haven't gone down that route of midfielder, but there's a reason for that. But it means that what we've tried to do in the last couple of years, so getting rid of Wijnaldum, signing Thiago, kind of implementing Elliot into the midfield from 2 seasons ago now, because he got injured at Leeds. If it wasn't for the injury at Leeds, he probably would have played more. Carvalho now this season. All these players are in a different mold of player. So what's the policy? The policy isn't adding up, because what we've done now is that we're going back on ourselves. The possession thing ain't really for us now. The technical players, we can't really deal with that. So let's just make Thiago into a runner, because that's going to work better for us. And then you're putting square pegs in round holes, and now you're looking at it saying, now we messed up. We need to now go back to the drawing board and get all these players that are going to go and do the hard run in the yards and do what Wijnaldum and Henderson could do at their pomp, because that's what gave us our success. And at least we were second and we were challenging. We've tried to go to this possession base, and the more we've gone down that route, the worse it's got. And I mean, look, we don't just talk on this show. Like, we've got the stats to back it up. And look, this is Liverpool's intensity. So Liverpool are losing intensity currently. So Look, the Premier League. This is Liverpool's Premier League ranking for this season for distance, sprints, and high-speed runs, and it's fallen in comparison to last season by a massive sum, and it's been on a decline. It's been on a decline since we had the injuries to our centre backs, but I wasn't going to go and use that season. You can see Liverpool are top, maybe second for this distance covered, but that's because we started to have more possession. What's happened over time? We're now bottom half of the table in terms of Premier League teams on every metric. That's distance covered, sprint speed, sprints, high speed runs. There were so many more, but we've had to just obviously condense the data. Liverpool are bottom. So Liverpool are so far removed from what a Klopp team is that we actually haven't got an identity anymore. There's no identity.
What was one of the things? Remember, we were talking about when we're doing like the tactics board and stuff like that at the early part of the season. What was one of the main kind of common things that we kept seeing in games was that we was constantly being overrun. I'm sure even in the Bournemouth game.
Yeah, in the Bournemouth game, the Bournemouth players. So in our 9-0 victory, even in that game, we covered less distance than Bournemouth did.
You get what I'm saying? Now, look, we won 9-0, so no one's going to bat an eyelid at that. Of course not. But there was a common trend, and this is what me and Jerry, like, we've been speaking about this quite a lot anyway off air, but this is what we keep trying to like stress to people, because like I hear what some people are saying, we've got to change styles, and of course you do. Of course, over time you do need to maybe implement a different style, but then you need to actually implement the style. That's the problem. We're not even implementing it. We're just buying said players and nothing's actually changed. We're still playing this high line in trying to be very, very intense based team, trying to press, from the front, all of these things we're trying to do. We're trying to press with a soon to be 31-year-old, I think he is, Mo Salah. We're trying to get Núñez, someone who isn't really renowned for his defensive capabilities, into, being this left winger who was like a Mane. Mane was very that was probably almost a special case in itself, because Mane was very good defensively. Do you get what I mean? As well as being very, very good in the forward areas. Firmino, we are still in 2023, with no disrespect, we're still so heavily reliant on Firmino being in this team. Why? Because we haven't moved away from that style. Well, Klopp seemingly doesn't want to move away from that style. So then it goes back to the question, and as I said, underneath Jerry's picture, style over substance. That's what it's just turning into, because there's no substance in what we're actually doing. Yes, we've got Firmino there, but not even what happens when Firmino leaves. The guy's been injured for the last 4 games, and we don't look like goal scoring was never an issue. We were still scoring goals with or without Firmino. Let's not act like Firmino is Lewandowski, where we miss him that much. We don't, or we shouldn't. But because we require someone in that role, we're now looking. It's just a bit weird. And then we signed Gakpo. Again, I'm not going to speak on Gakpo's ability or anything like that, but is Gakpo the new Firmino? Is Núñez going to be a Firmino? Does anyone realistically in this chat right now, there's 52 of you I can see in this chat, someone tell me, is Núñez or Gakpo going to be a Firmino replacement? Because if not, and we are then trying to shift to this new possession based on whatever, don't you think that we should maybe actually try and play that way then? Like, do you not think that maybe drop the line a little bit? Maybe we can't be as intense as the graph just showed. Jerry just put the graph up. Look where we are. Clearly, it is not working. That intense football is not working. So it needs to be scrapped unless you can get the players in to be able to do that role. This is the confusing bit. And this is why I'm not really understanding people who are almost defending it in a sense, because I'm just like, what more can we say? We're giving you the stats. We dropped our opinions. You're watching the games yourself, all of you, and it's still the same thing. I don't understand. What more do you need to see to understand that this just is not working? So then we need to we will never know, but we need to start understanding maybe the profile of player that we want. We're all here, talking about we want not Gakpo, we want Jude and Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, and all of these kind of guys, good players, very, very good players. I'm not saying they're not. They are very good players in the jobs that they do for their current clubs. Do you think they're going to come to Liverpool and do the same job? Because I'm pretty sure everyone said Carvalho was going to. Romz, I'm going to hot you up because you said that Carvalho was going to win Young Player of the Year. He don't even look like he's going to win Young Player of the Year.
Oh,
He got
wrong.
one by the way, but he don't even look like he's going to win Young Player of the Year here, let alone trying to win it even in the Premier League. And we're seeing, but again, that's not his fault because he's been played in a completely different role. You know, are we going to then use the excuses of injuries? You know, we can't keep using the excuse of injuries. I'm sorry, but I'm getting really, really tired of it because you should have a style of football that is conducive to the players that you have, and it should be able to function without players. Now, of course, if you don't have Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, Thiago, Diaz, if you don't have all of those players and you're playing a completely young team and I understand it. Of course we would. I'm not going to sit there and act like, yeah, we should be playing the same way, blah, 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 blah. But that's not been the case this season. Game against Norwich. I don't care what anyone says. We might laugh at that midfield and it wasn't really that good. I think it had Carvalho and Jones in there. We didn't play a style that worked for them. We ended up losing to Norwich. Cool, but maybe we can allow that. Leeds United. I can't even remember that midfield, but I'm pretty sure the midfield was good enough to win the game. But we didn't. We ended up losing that game as well. And what we're seeing is a trend from Liverpool is that first half, we can play intense. We're kind of seeing it. First half, maybe not in the last couple of games, but first half, usually this season, we seem to be quite, you know, we've got the energy, blah, blah, blah. As soon as it hits 50 minutes, it's like I'm playing FIFA and I can see everyone's now getting on red. Like I can actually see the bar underneath their name when it flashes up. They're on red, as if they've been dusting for the whole game. Like that doesn't make any sense. Surely they should be able to continue that, but maybe they can't. So then we need to then figure out what is a style of play that will then work for a full 90 minutes and for a sustained period of time.
Yeah, 100%. And we're looking, do you know what I mean, like this graph as well? Speaking about, you know, Liverpool are trying to be more intense or learning how to be more intense again or relearning, however you want to phrase it, saying we're learning about, you know, training about being more compact over in Dubai. This is what intensity does. So intensity is not sustainable. If I told you to sprint 20 times, you're not going to be able to sprint at the same like intensity 20 times over. And what I mean by that is you can't, and what we've seen is that Liverpool had to be nigh on perfect and the stars had to align for that style to go and win like a title consistently. Because ultimately, we got amassed ridiculous amounts of points and we didn't lose games, but we still haven't won titles. Mm-hmm. It shows that the styles, and we talk about it, it's not conducive. It doesn't help. It doesn't enable you to go and dominate the way a City want to. And that's the level we believe Liverpool should be on. And that's obviously an opinion. Some people don't want to. I mean, Klopp himself has come out and spoken about his philosophy. His philosophy isn't that, so it's fair. But that's what intensity does. And my question is, and this is the problem we've got, is that we've tried to transition, and I believe it's evidence of that, into a game that's not as intense because the players are getting older. You can't keep replacing 11 players. That you're not going to be able to go and get the same consistency level, which is actually more imperative. It's more imperative than intensity, which footballers, everyone talks about. World-class players are consistently good. Not consistently intense. They're consistently good. How can you do that if the manager or the coaching staff that you've got aren't able to implement the possession style of game or this possession style of football that you're trying to play, and they can't implement that properly to the level of a City or even what Arteta's doing at Arsenal through possession style football, or what Pep did at Barcelona? If you can't do that, then you're falling short because you're second best. And what Liverpool were good at is that we were the best at being what Liverpool were. And if that was the case, why did we get rid of Wijnaldum and bring it in? And it's not that we added Thiago into the mix of what we had to be an option off the bench or for certain games. We completely went and said, you know what, Gini Wijnaldum, as an example, a player that didn't miss a game, missed like 5 games in his whole career at Liverpool through injury. 5. We traded him for Thiago that averages 20 games a season.
You know what's mad?
The role that Wijnaldum did, because he's not being asked to do the role that Thiago does. So if the manager can't implement that, And where do we go from here? Because it's the players then. But we've wasted all this time bedding an Elliott in if he's not the right profile of player. What's the point?
Exactly.
What's the point? Because we're now targeting midfielders in his age bracket, in the age bracket of Carvalho, in the age bracket of Jones. Why are they still at the club then? Are people trying to tell me if we were to sign Caicedo and Bellingham and keep the midfielders that we've got currently, do you guys think there's a space for Elliott in midfield? He doesn't start. But this is the player that Klopp's putting the most trust in.
But then I guess so. Let me go to the first thing I was going to say. First thing I was going to say was, why do you think Modric, Cruz, Casemiro, let's take it back, Pirlo, Iniestas, the Javis. Now, obviously, I'm talking about a high caliber of player, of course, but I'm just trying to use them as an example in terms of why do you think they almost looked better as they got older? Because they were all playing a style. Listen, let's not act like Modric was the Modric we see today at Tottenham. He was good, but he definitely wasn't the Modric I saw today, like I'm seeing currently, the one who won the Ballon d'Or. That Modric at Tottenham wasn't winning no Ballon d'Ors. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You know, Casemiro at Manchester United is even playing a role that, again, suits his type of game. Because at the end of the day, he's still not going to be someone. Yes, every now and again, he's going to get up. He scored the other night as well. Brilliant goal. But he's not going to always be able to do that. But what he is good at is keeping possession, spraying balls, being able to break up play. But then the style of the team isn't to go gung-ho all the time. It isn't to press so high up all the single time. And if it is, they've got other midfielders in there who can work with him, like a Fred, for example, or McTominay whenever they decide to play him. So I'm looking at the team and I'm thinking to myself, let's, like Jerry, bruv, like, let's not act like we shouldn't even be looking at the ages of these midfielders. I'll be real. That the age shouldn't even be a problem like that. Yes, in certain aspects, if everyone was the same age as Milner, of course, because Milner's 36, 37 years old. That's a bit too old. But we're talking about guys who are, Fabinho is what, 29, 30? Thiago is what, 30, 31? Henderson is 31, 32 potentially. Like, these guys are not at the end of their flipping line. Like, I'm sure if they went to another team, they'd probably play for a lot longer because they'd be playing in styles or playing in a team that has a style that would allow them to be able to function. We've almost, like, Thiago, boy, I don't even know how many more years this guy's going to have left, to be honest with you. If he had just stayed at Bayern or something like that, yeah, I could probably see him playing for a lot longer. Well into his 30s, no problem. Because the style that was being asked of him at Bayern is totally different than the style that's been asked of him, or, sorry, the role that's been asked of him at Bayern was totally different to the role that's been asked of him here. So when I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, I just don't understand it. Like, I don't understand why you're trying to play in such a way that is now becoming detrimental to the team. And then you've bought players, and we'll get on to the money being spent, but you've then gone out and then signed an attack that is, in my opinion, completely different than the attack that you used to have. So if it's that different, why are you still trying to play the same way? Why are you expecting Nunes to start pressing from the front? That guy don't do that. That's not what Nunes is about. Gakpo, I don't know. Maybe he is someone, I don't know. But to my knowledge, from what I've heard, in defensive transitions, that's actually Gakpo, one of Gakpo's weakest points from what I saw the other day.
It is.
There you go. So that's Gakpo. Luis Diaz, he's probably the only one. Probably the only one I can say defensively, he gets himself back. He gets himself back. He'll help out the left back every now and again. You know, he doesn't mind doing that. Salah's not doing the same defensive work. I'm not saying that Salah was great defensively before, because he wasn't, but Salah isn't doing the same defensive work that he was doing before. Now we're trying to get Salah closer to the goal, no problem. But then that's completely different to having a Salah and Mane who used to press from the front, you know, would help out in the help out Trent and Robbo on either side, and having a Firmino who would drop into that midfield with number 10 position and then allow those two up front to be able to cause the havoc while he's in there just kind of linking play. We don't really have that at the moment. We have no one in the attack. And I think, Jerry, even, I'm sure you said it about it's almost like we're trying to get Salah to link play with the attack.
Watch what Salah does now. Salah getting on the ball, gets wide, does the little 1-2s around with Elliott and Trent, doesn't penetrate. Whereas before, go look at the videos. It was Henderson that was there. It was Henderson that was there. It was Trent that was there. It'd be Fabinho that moves across, and it'll be Salah inside the box.
Henderson was almost like a right winger at times.
Yeah, and what we're seeing right now is Salah now is, you are a creator, and he's not as good as it. He's not as good at it as Mane was, because that's not his game. That's not his game. He's there to get our goals. When he gets our goals, when he gets on the end of crosses, when he can cause damage inside the box, outside the box, he's not a threat. You keep Salah out of the box, you've done your job. You've done your job.
Literally. And again, we're gonna keep saying it because it's at the end of the day, it's the thing right now. But the reality is that these are the questions, and I think like these are the kind of uncomfortable conversations that do definitely need to be had, because the reality is we're currently in a situation. Fair enough. You want to say transition? I don't buy this transition crap, but fair enough. You want to say the team's in transition? No problem. My issue with this whole transition thing is that, one, there's no way in hell that it should have happened straight after last season. Maybe in a couple seasons' time, once the team was getting themselves used to playing a different style and stuff like that, potentially, and you're bringing in a bunch of new players, that makes a bit more sense. We've still got the same team. Like, who are we missing? Mane from last season. Mane and
Minamino.
That's it. Minamino and Origi, two players who played their cup games. The guys who weren't even trusted enough to play in the bloody league, but they were there for our cup games. But they've been here a long time, so Origi's been here a long time, so he kind of knows the style of play that we kind of want to play. But he didn't even really fit into that anyway. Do you get what I mean? He was kind of used as an unorthodox left winger / striker. So it does boggle my mind sometimes, man. Like, I genuinely just don't understand. What are you trying to do? And are you doing it effectively? Are you trying to implement something? Again, I've got no beef. I don't want anyone to misconstrue this. I've got no beef with you trying to implement a new style. Do that. Do that. I don't mind. I don't care. But the reality is, if you cannot do that, then you need to stop trying to do that. Then nothing is really making any sense. And then on top of that, you've then got to remember, we're not a club who can just go and do what if Manchester City's style, like, for example, I think Manchester City will be a better team next season once a Haaland and Alvarez gets more integrated into the team. Maybe when Calvin Phillips comes back, Rico Lewis is starting to play a lot more. Cole Palmer's being integrated a lot more. I think there'll be a way better team, and you're going to notice it potentially. That's just my thought. But obviously, these are good players playing in a very, very good team.
Yeah. I'm
looking at Liverpool and I'm thinking to myself, I don't even see where do you go from here next season? Because from what we know, other than Naby Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Milner, who I feel you're going to need to replace, other than those three, who's changing from the team? Like, who changes from the nucleus of that team? Because you're still going to keep Elliott. We know Elliott ain't going nowhere. You're still going to probably keep Jones unless he goes out on loan. You're still going to probably keep Carvalho unless he goes out on loan. You've still got Bajcetic. Morton, your favorite player, you're going to bring him back into the fold. So then what happens? And like, it just, sometimes I'm so baffled, bro. Like, you got Harvey Elliott, you sent him out on loan, and you allowed him to play right wing, to then come back into Liverpool to play right central midfield. Did Klopp feel that was the same position and that the skills were transferable to be able to go from right wing to centre mid? Why are we not playing Mo Salah as an attacking mid then? Clearly, the skills are transferable. Clearly, they're transferable enough.
Maybe so. I don't get that question, and that's a fair point, because I'm looking at Liverpool, and what's going to happen now is, and I spoke about it, is how long did it take Genie, the core of Genie, Fab, and Hendo for them to get to the level they were at?
That was like a 2-year, we'll say 2-year project.
Longer. Fabinho came in later on.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, shit. Yeah, he
And
did.
that was a 2-year project. When did Genie come to Liverpool, G? When did Genie and Henderson start combining?
Was that like 2016, 17 season?
16,
Yeah.
17.
And we
So
didn't win the league till 1920.
So Henderson was doing 16 from 16 to 17. Henderson was developing that role with Genie, that cohesion with Genie, understanding each other's game. We had Emre Can, we had other DMs before. We had Lucas Leiva. When Fabinho came, we had Milner, obviously one season, and Henderson played in the 6 as well. And we had obviously Chamberlain. When Fabinho came in, that 6 role doesn't really change. That 6 role in midfield is the easiest role. And what I mean by that is you're screening that back 4. It's very simple. You're not doing the same work as the other 8s. The other 8s have to cover their fullbacks, also join in the attack, link up with the forward play, link the midfield, link the defense. It's a lot of work.
So are we saying that?
But that's going to take years. So we're going to be sitting here saying, and this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. We're going to sign these players. It's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. Even if we were to sign Jude, it's not going to work out. We're not going to go and like challenge for major honors again. And it's going to, the argument's going to be, oh, but it's a transition season because the players need to develop. We need a season to bed them in. The same kind of arguments we've had for Nunes. The same arguments are going to be applied for these players. And rightfully so, but I'm just saying that it's not, this isn't the solution. The solution is tactically, there has to be a change in what Liverpool are doing. But that's not my problem. Like, as in, that's beyond my pay grade. That's not for me to solve. That's not for me. That's not for us to sit here and solve and be like, yeah, what needs to happen is if we can give our opinions, but it's not guaranteed that that's going to work. We haven't got all the data, all the stats.
Exactly.
But how do Liverpool go and play a possession-based game when that's not their forte? You have to go back to doing the pressing thing. But you're only going to do that with new players. But it's going to take a while for them to get over the line. So you're talking another 5 years minimum.
And then on top of that, remember, we're talking about new players. Remember, we're not a club who signs players.
Exactly. And on top of that, we're talking, whilst that's happening, Virgil's only getting older. Thiago's only getting older. Henderson's only getting older. Robbo's only getting older. All these players that we're talking about, Salah is only getting older. What happens in 2 seasons, people? Is Salah still our main striker, our main winger? 3 seasons. Is Salah still our main winger?
What, 33? A 33-year-old Salah?
In the Prem as a right winger, can you guys see it? As a right winger? I don't know.
Look, guys, we don't know the future, you know. We don't, for all we know, Liverpool get investors, they start spending money, and then they're able to fix. We don't know. But we can only go based on everything that we've seen now and everything that we are kind of seeing at this current moment in time. I read a report the other day that, you know, we're not even, you know, John Henry is not actually even looking for a sale of the club. He's just more looking for investors. So he's not actually looking for a full sale. So again, what does that even look like? And what Jerry says, spitting facts. Like, we're supposed to be a club. Like, I know we're not Manchester City, but again, have to use them as reference. When I'm looking at Manchester City, I think they might have a season out, and their season out is finishing like 3rd, potentially, kind of thing, like in a season. I think they've done that once under Pep Guardiola. The season that Leicester City won the Premier League, I think they finished 3rd in that season. Then went back to back, and then I think then that's when we then won it, and then they've then gone back to back again. So, you know, the reason why they're able to do so is because they're not allowing themselves to get in a position whereby they need to almost overhaul an entire team in order, unless you're just going to, again, we don't have the money to do so. And Man City are not going to necessarily spend up that type of money to overhaul an entire team, you know, because that's going to cost a lot of money to do so. What they're doing is just little cogs here and there. We can go about this whole Haaland and how much they gave to his dad and all this bullshit. It doesn't really matter. What did they go and do? They wanted a striker, seemingly. They needed someone to be able to finish all the chances because they know they're a team that create a lot of chances. So what do? They go out and get the best one, or the young best one. They go out and get him. Whatever we might say about Jack Grealish, one thing I will say is he's a player that, numbers-wise, as much as we will criticize him because he's not getting the numbers and he's missing some of these chances he was the other day, I feel like what's his name, Pep Guardiola, actually likes him. He likes what he brings to the team because of his skill set, because he's someone who can bring the team up through his dribbling, someone who can draw players into him. Pep might just like that. Again, I don't know. I'm not a Man City fan. Ask a Man City fan, whether Pat Man is or Dats or all these guys. Ask these guys. They'll be the best people to tell you. But there's a reason why he continually keeps playing him. Mahrez, again, another winger like that. They don't. Those are the type of players that they require in their team, and then they get players who are quite similar but might offer different quality. So your Bernardo Silvas, your Phil Fodens, your Cole Palmers. They'll get these players into the team. Julian Alvarez. Julian Alvarez isn't necessarily a Haaland, but he's probably more in the mold of, would I say, Gabriel Jesus. Maybe even a better finisher. But it's a different option. But guess what? He fits into the mold because he's going to then come in and play within a role that will allow for him to be able to still thrive, like we are seeing from him at this current moment in time. The guy's just come off winning the fucking World Cup. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, this is what we need to get ourselves into, is that if you are going to play a possession-based game, then I need to be seeing you then linked with possession-based players. I need to see possession-based players, not Amrabat.
The likes of Verratti, Barella.
Exactly.
De Jong. I know there was talks of De Jong, but serious interest in likes of De Jong. Pedri, Gavi. These were all things that we're starting to see. They were spewed out just randomly because Tchouaméni, Bellingham, Nunes, Amrabat. They're all similar. They're all tall. They're all physically imposing. Even Caicedo is not the tallest, but he's physically imposing. He gets about the pitch in a kind of Ronaldo Kante-esque type of player. You're not going to bully him off the ball. He's going to win it back. Who's the player in that you look at and is in that Thiago mode? Arthur Melo. That's the only player we were linked with, and you got.
That you know what you said. I think you said this again, and guys, if you haven't seen the Sam show from last night, just watch it because there was a lot of stuff that was said that even had my brain like, right, you might be right on that. We signed Arthur Melo. Now forget what he hasn't played. Forget all of that. Just look at the profile of player that we signed. Jerry, you said it yesterday. We didn't even sign like a B-Tech Jude Bellingham. Like someone who was just even not Jude Bellingham because we couldn't get him last season, but we didn't even sign someone in that mold on loan or we weren't even linked to someone like that. Tchouaméni being the only person clearly. And then since then it was nobody. Henderson gets injured and then it's like Arthur Melo is the next one up. So if we didn't even sign a B-Tech or just someone who's just remotely similar to a Jude Bellingham, I don't understand. Again, where are we going with this? Because then you signed Arthur Melo, and as Jerry said, what type of profile is he? So another Thiago, but we don't. Is that the way that we want to play moving forward? So are we looking for that? So we're looking for the new Thiago, and then we're looking for a new Fabinho potentially in an Amrabat. Maybe I don't really know. Is that the kind of mold? Is that if that's the way, no problem. But the style then being used isn't working. For those players, forget even getting new players. The style's not even working for these man. So I don't understand how you think that if you just replace someone with a new Thiago, a new Fabinho, a new Henderson, or a new Elliott, for example, the style is not working for the current players. In the players you're trying to replace, the style isn't even working for them. So I don't understand how you then replace them and then what it automatically works. Find the style that works for them, and then it will be a lot easier to then find the new Thiago, if that's what you're looking for, the new Fabinho, the new Jordan Henderson. It doesn't make sense you trying to upgrade on these players, but you don't even have a style that works for these players. So then what style are these new players going to play then? I don't get it. Like, I genuinely don't understand. What style do they then play? Because the style that you were playing with those midfielders isn't working. But then you're going to buy new ones of midfielders to do what style? Do you see how it's not adding up here anymore? Like, it doesn't really make much sense.
I really don't get it. And look, big up to Marshall Ayub. I'm saying it's my birthday today.
Hey, happy birthday, Marshall!
Happy birthday. Look, we're gonna give you a special performance from our very own John II as a happy birthday treat. Whilst we're doing that, we've got 70 people in the building. we need 70 likes or after this
Yeah,
team.
but like,
So you guys have about 30 seconds from now until I play the video. 30 seconds, I'm going to play the video. After the video, we should be on 70, like minimum 65. If we're not, the interlude's going to play and we're going to vibes, me and G, because there's more.
I like that. So I'm good.
Anyway, big up Ayub and happy birthday.
Searching for P's on my P's and Q's, no Q on the mic, had to bust one take. 1 2 short, now she bounce it back like jumping jack. Are you move your waist? Been doing this shit from Quay, don't pay. I'm Destiny's Child, better say my name. And I can't be tamed, they burning bridges while I brought that flame. Lemons click cups and I plant some hate. Not concerning, considering man praise. Yeah, tell me how you feel, all these thoughts ain't a way to.
Big up, big up, big up. Having a look at the likes now. I'm having a look at the likes now. Y'all people playing. You guys are playing. What are we on? 53. That's
53. Nah, I need 15 more.
Yeah, we need 15 more. So we're gonna wait for the 15 and because they're lying to me. Do you know what it is? Just like Vividry, your good lies, they're lying to me. So let's
In this moment, yes, I cannot say what's wrong or right. No, it's not hard to fool me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to the good life. I follow, no need to say. With me, you're heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. To the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find no better one. Yeah, susceptible now before the moment flies. Ooh, so tell your good night, 'cause I'll find no better one. Ooh, susceptible now before the moment flies. It's not a problem.
big up, big up. That's what happens, man. That's what happens. I mean, that's what happens. We start vibing. It's radio. Do you know what I mean? If you guys want ads, we're gonna give you some ads. Midway saying we can't hear you, Jerry, when the song is on. That's cool. You can't hear me. You can lip read. But big up, see RJ saying like, please, I can't take this music.
RJ will grow on you, bro. Don't worry, man. It'll grow on you, bro.
But yeah, man, like yeah, it's one of those ones where Liverpool right now just they're in the mud. Nothing's making sense. The type of players we're getting, we have players like Oxlade-Chamberlain that aren't getting the fair crack of the whip properly when they're in midfield. They're always playing on the wing. I think that's the type of player that fits the Klopp style of play. We're playing him out wide, fair enough. We've tried Cavallo in midfield. James Balagizi, that's out on loan, probably fits the type of mold of player that we actually need a bit better, but he's out on loan. There's been a few players like that. And it's just not making like I said, I'm confused in terms of what's going on. It's like someone's actually like big up voice of reason. I think this is a massive statement saying, look, our squad looks like it's been made up of 3 different managers, mismatching age profile and physical attributes. It feels like we've got 2 madmen running the asylum and FSG allowing it to happen. It's mad when you think about it. It does feel like there's 3 people in charge. You've got Klopp players, Linda's players, and then FSG players in terms of the players that the technical board are saying that we need to get.
You know what's mad? As you say it, you got Klopp's players who are the Allisons, the Van Dijks, because he didn't want Salah, so you got those, man. Then you've got, as you said, The FSG players will probably be like your Naby Keita,
Salah,
Wijnaldum's, maybe even Thiago. I don't even know who wanted Thiago, to be honest. Because that's just exactly
Thiago. And then you got Linders, which is Gakpo.
You know what? Voice of reason. You're actually spitting. Yeah. That's actually true. That's and you can't tell me, guys, that is a functioning way for a top club to kind of move forward. And again, look, guys, I need everyone to also understand, Pablo AZ saying Klopp wanted Thiago. Fair enough. We just want you to understand this, by the way. We're not talking about the club winning a Premier League every single fucking year. We know that is not possible. I don't want anyone to sit here and think that we're trying to talk from a position of, because we want to win the league every single year. No. What we are trying to at least see from the club is that we are moving in directions. And even if you are going through your transitional periods, there shouldn't have been such a drop-off, for one, this season, but also a drop-off in the teams. And I've said this 100 times. When you look at certain teams, you know what? I'm not even going to use Manchester City because people think I'm always talking about them. I'll use Newcastle under Eddie Howe. Now, Newcastle are a team, if we looked at their players 1 to 11 who start week in, week out, majority of time, and then you look at their bench players, even look at the team that they played against Arsenal. You can't sit here and tell me that we don't necessarily have a better team. So what is the difference between a Newcastle and the Liverpool at this present moment in time? They're being coached well. They've got a style of play that works for the players that they have. Is it Lewis Dunk? Is it Dunk?
Yeah,
Dunk. No, sorry, no, Dan Burn.
No, Lewis Dunk's at Brighton.
So you got your Dan Burns. You know your Kieran Trippier, who's over the age of 30. So let's not act like this is a 25-year-old Kieran Trippier. You know, you got Joe Willock, Joe Linton. You know, in the middle of the park, Callum Wilson up top. You know, Almiron. You know, you've got players in there that are now playing a style of football that works for them. That's not to say that they are better than us or whatever. They're playing better, of course, and they're performing a lot better than Liverpool this season. So you have to give them credit, but they're being coached well. They've got a style, and this is the difference, is why are we able to see styles of football that is conducive? You know who I'll also bring up? Arsenal. Before Arsenal, when Arsenal were doing, let's say when Arteta first came in, let me not even necessarily use last season. When Arteta first came in, there would have been criticism of him because the style of play that he was trying to play did not work for the players that he had. You saw what he was trying to do. You could see it from a mile off. I could tell straight away, this guy wants to play possession, but he also wants his team to be able to press from the front. He had Lacazette. He had Aubameyang. That was not happening with Lacazette and Aubameyang. They don't do that. Do you understand? So the team started to look a little bit disjointed, hence the reason why they weren't really performing to the levels that they needed to. What then happened after that? You started to, obviously, you had your Martinellis, you had your Sakas, who then grew into their roles. They then obviously had Smith Rowe then brought in. They then got a Partey into the middle of the park, someone in there, a midfield destroyer for them. They then had Xhaka. All of a sudden, people are acting like Xhaka. No, it's because Xhaka's playing a style that works for him in that midfield. What happened most importantly for them, though, was the defense, how their defense plays and how their defense sets up. We're seeing it a lot more with Ben White this season, who's now playing right back. He was a centre back when they bought him. He's now playing on right back. They got rid of Tavares. Guess who's playing left back now? They got in Zinchenko. Why? Because Arteta wanted that kind of inverted fullback coming from that left-hand side. He wanted that, whilst he also has Ben White coming on the outside, but also able to come in because he can play centre back and
defensive mid that he played at
Leeds. So you started to see they were clever. Like, forget how much money they're spending. I think people get too bogged down with like, they spent this much. No, forget how much they're spending. That's the irrelevant part of it. Money is money. Players are going to cost what they're going to cost. If Van Dijk cost 75 million, I definitely balked at that price, but it turned out that he was worth the price. So it doesn't matter how much you're actually spending. If Harry Maguire was good, no one will be talking about the fact that he cost 80 million. You'd all be saying, yo, that was a decent price. So we need to stop bogging ourselves down with the price of these players. Look at the profile of players that they're signing. What did he then do? He got rid of an Aubameyang. Obviously, other reasons why, if you've watched the documentary and stuff like that. But he got rid of an Aubameyang, their highest wage earner at the club. They got rid of him. Their captain, they got rid of him. Lacazette, they got rid of him. They got in a new goalkeeper, Bernd Leno. I thought he was supposed to be the German next one up. They got rid of him. And they brought in Aaron Ramsdale because Ramsdale can do the role that Arteta requires from his goalkeeper. That he's so meticulous in everything that he's doing and he's trying to implement. He doesn't mind getting rid of all of these big name players. There's no loyalty here. That's what I really like about Arteta. There doesn't seem to be that sentimental attitude behind his decisions or his players. You know, if you're not fitting what I'm doing, bro, you need to bounce. I don't care, Aubameyang, that you're on 300k or whatever it was, 300, whatever it was. I don't care. You're not fitting really what we are trying to do here. You need to go. Lacazette, you need to go. You're not good enough. They'd rather keep Eddie Nketiah over Lacazette. You know, these are the kind of meticulous decisions that Arsenal have been doing, and that's why it's working for them. Yes, they're spending money, but they're spending money in the right areas and for the right profile of players to work for Arteta's system. And his system works for the players that he's got. So it goes hand in hand. That's why it's working for them this season. It was working for them last season. Barring those 3 games, they would have made top 4. Everyone laughed at it. Oh, they didn't make top 4. But it was working for them for the majority of the season. I'm not looking at those 3 games. Like, that's just one of them kind of things that can happen. But for the majority of the season, it worked. This season, now it's all come to a head. All they needed to add was Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko, you know, and these kind of players
But then look at the profile of player that they're signing, though. So
exactly.
They're not going and like signing 21 and 19-year-olds. Like, they signed Marquinhos. He's not starting. He's made like
not starting, yeah.
5 minutes in the Prem. They signed Zinchenko. How old is Zinchenko? 26. Jesus,
26, yeah.
26. They're all that player that I experienced that can come and they know you're coming in to do the business now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not waiting for you to go and develop. And considering where, and when you relate it back to Liverpool, that's what I thought we were.
Mm-hmm.
We need to bring in players that can do the business now because we've got all the other components in place.
Exactly.
But what you're trying to tell me is a transition to what you're trying to tell me, like Virgin, that are not good enough. Because in 4 years' time, they're not going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Virgin isn't going to be here in 4 years' time. He's not going to be 40 playing at Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to be on the back end of 30s. Do you know what I mean? He's just not.
Now, what you're spitting, you know, because I thought we were doing that as well. I thought we had the players who were, yes, they're getting on a bit in terms of age, but now you just need to add players who just come in now. Yes, you can get your Marquinhos, get those players. Of course, you need a couple of young players, but Elliott shouldn't be starting games. Elliott should be on the bench, rotating with someone who's literally going to come in now and just play. You know, it shouldn't be a fact that Elliott is, you know, almost, you know, been one of our better performing midfielders this season. That doesn't make any sense to me. You should have already had a player in there who comes in straight away so that Elliott can then develop, has the time to develop, allow him to get in his game, you know, so he can learn the role a lot better than being kind of thrust into this position where the team is kind of shit at the moment. And then that's it. And, you know, it doesn't make any sense how I'm watching Arsenal. People keep laughing. And they do the comparison. We don't know what's going to happen at the end of the season. Arsenal might fall off. I don't think they will, but they might do that. We don't know. But the reality is, I'm looking at Arsenal, and for me, they are in a better position than when Klopp came. Because the reality is, they're in a position where even their young players, Saka, the important ones, Saka, Martinelli, you know, Emile Smith-Rowe, Ben White, you know, these kind of guys that they've got in the team who are quite integral to what the team is doing. They're only, maybe Ben White's a bit older, but Saka's what, 21?
No. Let me see.
He might even be, is he younger?
I think he's
Saka and Martinelli, how old are they?
Saka is 21.
How old is Martinelli?
Martinelli is
Probably 22, I reckon.
21 as well.
So you've got two players who are integral to what you are trying to do, who have been in the team long enough and have played under this manager, so they know the style, they know the tactic, and they are 21. Smith Rowe is 20, I believe. So you're talking about three players who Odegaard, that's the other one I forgot. Odegaard. How old is Odegaard? Odegaard's like 22. 24. So Odegaard's 24. Very good age for play, especially someone of this quality at this moment in time as well. So we're talking about four players who are so young that in 5 years' time, it's not going to be. They're not looking at replacing these guys. They don't need to replace Saka. They don't need to worry about. Oh man, you know what? We need to really start thinking about replacing Saka. You know, like they're not getting him at 26 and think that. Yes, they're going to think of that for Zinchenko, for Gabriel Jesus, but those players are bought in to win today. They're not here for 4, 5, 6 years later. They don't care about all of that because that's why you've got Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard. They're the ones that you start thinking in 5 years' time that this is a long haul project. You get your components into mix in with that. Why is it we're not doing that? It's like voice of reason. You really did like. I'm gonna get that screenshot that up and put it up on my thing because it is true. It is like we have 3 different teams here. You've got over 30s. You've got a couple man who are like mid to late 20s, and then you've got the dead ones who are just super young, but they're super dead. So you're just like, it doesn't even work for what you're even trying to do. And then what you're trying to then do is you're using all the old ones with one young one, but you're trying to play the old school football that you used to play with all the old players. That doesn't even make sense, man. Like, start using your brain a little bit in terms of what you're trying to achieve here. And this is, I'm going to keep going on and on and on and on and on about it. And I'm going to keep hammering Liverpool because at the moment, your recruitment, yes, you can say in isolation, the players that you are signing are not bad, but they are not making sense. It's like you've literally are playing a football manager and just said, but I like Gakpo. He's one of my favorite players. Let me just sign him. But I like Nunes. He's one of my favorite players. Every time I use him on Football Manager, he bangs for me. So let me just sign him. Don't fit into my team, but I'll just get him into the team and, because he's one of my favorite players. That's all we're doing. There's no real thought process behind any of these signings. And then it goes to style over substance. Are we trying to sign players who we just feel are good players, but they're just good players for that team? Do they actually fit into the team that you're trying to create? That's all we want to know is, are we getting the right type of players? I don't need Jude. I don't care if you even bought Verratti or Modric. I don't care. The name doesn't bother me. Just get players that work for whatever you're trying to do.
Exactly. And that's why it begs the question. Nunes, Caicedo, Bellingham, all good players. Amrabat, Verratti, Barella was in the summer. We were talking about Barella and all these types of players. All good players. But are they going to fit what Liverpool do? Because we've seen with Thiago now. It hasn't worked out. Mm-hmm. No one can tell me it's worked out. We haven't got the Thiago we thought we were getting. No one expected Thiago to play the way he does or not be as impactful. Mm.
But Jerry, we rely on him now. Like, people telling me when Thiago's not in the midfield looks, because the midfield is dusted. Of course he looks good. Of course, Thiago looks like a good player because he is a good player. You're going to notice his type. He's aesthetically pleasing. So you're going to notice that Thiago is good in a midfield that consists of James Milner or Fabinho or Henderson or Elliott, because none of them are aesthetically pleasing. They're supposed to just do their jobs and roles. So I don't understand why we have this emphasis on these kind of players. And again, I have to ask this question. You had 2 windows. You spent 100 million in 2 windows. You spent more than 100 million, by the way, but 100 million on these 2 players, Gakpo and Nunes. Guys, do you think Klopp really looks at midfield and is really sitting there saying, I need to fix this midfield, I really need to fix the midfield. I need something different in midfield. Other than Jude Bellingham, do you realistically think he's looking at that midfield? As Jerry said earlier in the show, once everyone's fit, how many midfielders do we even have? We have bare midfielders. Even if you take out Naby Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and James Milner, because their contracts are up at the end of the season. Take them out. you've got Bajcetic and Tyler Morton. They'll come into the team. There you go. There's your midfield replacements. And guess what? Jude Bellingham is the other one. So there's your three. There's your three. There is literally your three midfielders who have been replaced, and that's all that will happen. Obviously, I can't remember who it was who put it in the comments talking about the homegrown quota thing and stuff like that. Yeah, like, I get all of that. I totally get that in regards to the homegrown quota. I understand that we also need to, that's something we need to worry about. But then I then ask, your last signings were Gakpo, who's not English, Nunes, who was not English, Diaz, who is not English. This is obviously previous thing. The only ones were Carvalho, who would be considered as who's classed as a homegrown player. I'm trying to think of another player that we signed who was English, and I can't think off the top of my head. There was another player. Big up Ensman. I can't think of another player who was actually English. So are we even concerned about that anyway? Like, these are the questions that I always ask myself. It might be seen as looking at it from a negative point of view, but these are literally the questions that you have to start like asking yourself, because you're just like, but because people try to use these things as arguments. If you're using that as an argument, okay, no problem. Look at the last few signings we've made. We've signed one homegrown player. So are the club even that bothered about homegrown players then? Maybe Cannonier from the academy, Jerry's other favorite player, Frauendorf, maybe he might, get thrown in because he'd be classed as a homegrown player. I don't know. It's just not making any sense. Jerry, man, chat to me, man. I just don't get it, bro.
Yeah, I don't get it. We're going to run through some of the comments. Jamrock saying, serious question. If we get Bellingham by some chance, is his role going to be similar to Hendo, which is to protect Trent?
I don't know.
No. It's either that or you either sacrifice Bellingham or you sacrifice Trent. Yeah, for real. Let's not beat around the bush. We know Trent at his best is going to always do Trent's role on the clock. He just is. He is the system now. He is going to do that. If that's the case, you need someone protecting him. It's the Henderson role for Bellingham. It's the fact that he's got legs. It's the fact that he's young. It's the fact that you can have Bellingham for 7 years and he will be 28. And he won't be as burnt out as Henderson at 33, or getting a Thiago that's later, that's further along. In his development in terms of age. I see his role being very similar to Henderson's, very similar. He's not going to go and get into the box for goals and stuff like that. She's going to leave Trent exposed.
But everyone keeps telling us that because that's what he does for Dortmund, that in turn, that's what he's then going to do for Thing. And
Genie for Holland and for Newcastle was an attacking player, an attacking force. For Liverpool, he's done well at Liverpool. Thiago for Bayern was a different Thiago than the Thiago we see now. Robertson plays at centre back for Scotland sometimes.
Because Kieran Tierney is clearly that's actually mad.
Exactly. So Angel 96 here saying the high line and advanced fullbacks mean the three-man midfield must work very hard. Hence they are exhausted and injured after a few seasons. That's exactly it, Angel. That's exactly it. McLovin, big up to yourself, saying Liverpool bought a Ferrari just to drive it like a Fiat.
Yep.
Quap saying, happy birthday, Milner. 37 today, clear of Henderson. Happy birthday, man.
Is he really 37 today?
Still winning the lactate test. That's Milner right now, man. Looking old as hell, but ripped. But big up to Milner.
Well, if I look like that at 37, boy, I ain't complaining. I'll take for free, boy.
Klopp told Elliot and Fabio, I'm gonna make you into a world-class player. Come with me, and I'm gonna give you the world. I'm gonna give you the world. Jason Thomas saying, because there is no real system of play, we can't find anybody close to what Firmino does. This clearly shows our tactics are based on a profile of player and not necessarily a system of play. But if that's the case, we should be doing that more. But it's like the profile of player, what Klopp did by seeing originally, by looking at Bobby, looking at the players we had and said, actually, we've got to play like this because of the players we've got. That's now become our system.
Yeah.
We've only looked good when Bobby's played up front and had a good game. Those have been our best performances. Nunes on the left. It's an interesting question.
That's actually true.
Simba Simba, big up to yourself, saying, sack the bloody guy for crying out loud. He has been playing like this since Buvac left. We all know this. Jason Thomas
Not
saying,
everyone.
I really thought, regress. I really thought when Firmino regressed, our impact as a team would also. I was proven right. Yeah, you were.
It's not nice being right when you're right about the wrong things, right? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. It's not like you don't want to be right that your missus cheats on you, innit?
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not something.
You don't want to be right, bro. Do you know what I mean? One of your boys comes to you, like, brother, I'm not gonna lie. I think my man's macking your girl, and you're like, huh?
Like, that's not like these things here that we keep talking about. We don't talk about these things here because we want to be right. Man, I don't want to be right about my girl cheating on me. What the fuck is that about? That's loose.
Yeah, I was right. See, I told you. Like, yeah. Now you got egg on your face, bro.
Now you got everything exactly. Look like an idiot.
And Marshall saying, big up myself and G, goats of these.
Hey guys, make sure in the chat that you're sending Marshall happy birthday, man. Send that birthday love, man.
Big up. Egyptian King saying, legend has it when you say Naby's name, he ends up in the back of the medical table like this. Man ends up like this as soon as you say his name. It's like a curse. Let me see if I got the image still. Like this.
Bro, it's peak for Naby. You know what? On we'll get through the comments and I'll ask us.
Yeah. Our squad brings a Nerf gun to a drive-by hit. Egyptian King. RJ, big up RJ saying, with Milner and Ox possibly off, what will Klopp do with our homegrown quota? Obviously, we addressed that already. Big up to King Cop saying, we need that guy from Leeds. I believe you mean Tyler Adams.
Yeah, Jerry spoke about him. I think he's a good player, man. Good player.
Marshall saying, link for the membership. Guys, we ain't got membership yet. We need that 1,000 subs. That's what I'm saying. When the membership comes, like, we got. Listen, the plans are ridiculous, but we need the membership to come because that's going to enable us to go and put that content that we've got onto the membership. So we're talking. Let me not.
The content is there, so don't worry, guys. Don't worry.
There, stuff like Sky Sports level content, and you guys are going to love it. ESPN level content. So big up to yourselves. We need the subs to go up. So once we get to 1,000 subs, we'll be able to make that possible. Mm-hmm. We know saying Arteta deaded the sentiment and rebuilt that squad. Klopp would have held on to Leno, Lacazette, and Oba. Yeah,
like he's doing now.
Andrew Knight 68 saying Arsenal now constantly commit tactical fouls to stop counter attacks because they attack with multiple players. Facts. Pablo saying, I can't believe the board said Enzo has to prove himself in Europe before we go in for him. Are you being serious, Pablo?
Yeah, apparently it was. That's why that we didn't, because we were apparently in for Enzo prior to his move to Benfica. The fee was really good, but we needed him to prove himself in Europe first.
Haven't we done the same thing with Matheus Nunes?
Yeah, basically, exactly that. Exactly.
Prove himself for what? Caicedo, are you going to tell me we had to prove himself as well? We could have got him for 5 mil. Anyway.
There's no risk in this club, man.
Yeah, this is crazy, man. we got to Gio saying Klopp would have been going on dates with Oba. Jesus Christ. Marshall saying, I love this channel, bro. Appreciate it,
bro. Come on.
We got Boo Ride in the building. Big up to yourself saying, if we have any other manager, who would you like it to be, and what formation and style of play should the team be playing? G, last note. I think a lot of people know now what manager you'd like.
One, you know what? The manager
of, let's say the manager, and give him a description of what style of play you'd like to see. Just describe it for us using some lovely superlatives and adjectives.
Yo, I'm into university in a minute, my guy. Luis Enrique is my choice. Reason being is because I feel that we already have players who are more accustomed to play a possession-based game. We've tried to do it at Liverpool already, playing a possession-based game, but we can't play a possession-based game and create chances. I feel that with the players that we've got, and I also mean the attack as well, it will also allow for the attack to just do the attack work. It's not so focused on pressing and, trying to press from the front and stuff like that. Yes, obviously they need to try and win the ball back as quickly as possible, but yeah, and that's why I feel Luis Enrique, because I like that style of football that he plays for Spain, that is the best style that I think, and he's the best manager for it. So yeah, Luis Enrique, possession based, but with being able to create a lot of chances, a bit like what Man City kind of do. But I feel like Luis Enrique would be able to implement that style, here. Yes, it might be a little bit more boring to some people on the eye, but for me, I don't really care. I actually don't care. I feel like if you're watching the game properly, it's meticulous in what they do. It's not just 1,000 passes because they do 1,000 passes. Like, it's not like the manager said, back in the day we used to kick ball and they say, yeah, 3 passes before you can score, or it's not that. It's they do that because there's a reason behind it. And I think with the players that we've got and with some of the players that we've been linked with, I think that could potentially work.
Yeah, facts. I'm not gonna lie, man. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. I just know before Arteta was Arteta and before everyone's lauded him now and he's getting all these interviews, Arteta wasn't Arteta.
100%. 100%.
So, like, there's other managers like De Zerbi weren't De Zerbi until it was De Zerbi. Potter weren't Potter until he became Potter. Trying to tell me there are managers out there that can just do a job that we don't know about right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing as well. People are acting like there's no managers in world football that can take over Liverpool. Let's not move like we're a team who wins the league every year, that we need a manager to come in and keep winning the league, bro. Like, we just need a good manager to come in and do a job. Let's not act like it's that big of a job.
Exactly. Klopp saying he thinks Klopp's going to sign due to play him like any Ramirez, running around, putting fires out and covering Trent, making him lose all his tech. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I forgot about Ramirez.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Ramirez was a G. Ramirez would be perfect right now for us.
He is the perfect Klopp midfielder, like literally.
Ramirez, listen, I'm not gonna lie, Liverpool, yeah, if Liverpool had a peak Kante and a peak Ramirez, it would be peak.
It actually would be peak.
Ramirez and Kante, we could play 2 in midfield.
Yeah, you could finally do that.
We could play 2 in midfield. That'd be crazy. I always said, you see, the season we missed out on the league and won the Champions League. I think we would have won the league that season if we had Kante.
Yeah.
If we had Kante, it would have been dumb. It would have been dumb. Like Kante and Genie, like, it would have been dumb. Like we
needed someone like that in the middle, man. 100%.
You just wouldn't get the ball back. It's mad. Running for some comment before we head out. Big up to Sleepy Forest. I'm joking, bro, but this is the reality of the club. I don't know what that means. Endman saying you want sexy football at his FM season. Trust. Sleepy Forest saying Thomas Frank. Maybe. Like, that's what
he could probably do a job.
Thomas Frank ain't Thomas Frank until we get Thomas Frank.
Yeah.
Asking, what do we think of Coop Myers?
I don't know enough about him. His name just sounds like I ain't trying to pronounce that next season.
He's decent.
He's decent.
He's the one that played that pass for Weghorst in the World Cup.
Oh, was it?
That brother.
Hey, say no more, my guy.
Yeah, that brother.
That name, I ain't trying to pronounce that.
Gio saying, I think Klopp stumbled on Liverpool's system, to be honest. You can't tell me Bellingham to replace Henderson unless you're going to play 4-4-2 with Trent at right mid, which I strongly consider.
So we need to buy a new right back on top of buying some new midfielders, on top of buying some new goalkeepers, on top of buying some new centre backs. Like, my brother, what type of money do you think we have over here on this side of the map? We ain't got that kind of peas, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy. Big up, Pablo's got some breaking news saying Mate Moretto on Twitter has just said Jude Bellingham's future club will be revealed this month.
I don't even care anymore. I actually don't even care.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Boo Rider asking if Ramsey grows into a proper right back, will Trent then be pushed into midfield? No.
It would just give you some cover, man.
Klopp's spoken about being a thing. Last couple of comments before we head out. Wiener saying 80% of teams aren't owned by billionaires. Many managers work under budgets. PSV sold as Gakpo because they have to make money each year to stay afloat. People work on those constraints. Rabbi saying, gee, how do we stop letting teams run up on us from the start in games and avoid going 1-0 down?
I was going to say something so dumb.
But
I would.
I was going to solid, bro. Just
Yeah. I'm gonna say that answer. Be defensively solid.
Just defensive first.
I was gonna say, bro, change the manager. You might see a difference. But yeah, be defensively solid still.
Trust. A couple of things as well we've just seen in the media that we're going to just highlight before we.
Yeah, let's.
This is coming broken today. Anfield Talk getting a lot of kind of.
We're seeing, bro. Just before you start it, we're seeing bare stuff starting to come out recently. Like it's actually a joke.
Bears held on to everything and just said, "Yeah, we're going to release."
Exactly.
Now. Saying, look, Klopp did insist on the 4-year contract for Jordan Henderson, agreed in August last year. That made Henderson one of the club's highest earners. Again, people talk about FSG not wanting to sign players.
How can they sign players when Klopp's keeping brothers here? You can't keep getting mad at FSG, bro. Klopp is... Anyway.
Exactly. Last one as well. I find it interesting. Pep Linders saying Harvey Elliott reminds him of Andres Iniesta. So when we're talking about possession-based football and we're saying about, we need more quality in the midfield, it just points to evidence to suggest that, Linders and Klopp, which they work as one, I believe, and I believe G believes as well, they believe the quality is there in the team.
That's a great way to segue out, to be honest. That's a fantastic way to segue out.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Like, guys, I don't know what more we need to keep showing you. I don't know what else we can tell you guys. I don't know whatever other evidence you need that this is just not it. Like, this just ain't it. I'm sorry. Like, this can't be it for Liverpool Football Club. Yeah, none of it's making sense. But with the January is long, man. You never know. Liverpool might turn up at the end of January. Liverpool signed Jude Bellingham. They're getting Caicedo in the summer. They're getting Mateus Nunes. Oxlade-Chamberlain's gonna go. Naby's gonna go. We're in for a very 6-second goalkeeper. We're looking at a potential right back position, and we're potentially looking at another centre back in the summer. All of that could happen. Could happen,
man. Could happen. So yeah, man. Big up to everyone that's been in the building. Make sure you're staying tuned because later on today we just still sort out the time, but we've got a panel of people. We've got the FSG and the FSG out brigade. So that's going to be a very, very, very good conversation. That's going to be for about 45 minutes. And then after that, we're going to get a call in. So some of you guys are going to be able to come in and have your say in regards to anything that's going on regarding Liverpool as well. Yeah, big up to everyone in the building. Amazing people, smashing the likes as well. Lots of Jamrock, RJ, Marshall, like impeccable as always in the comments, in the chat. McLovin as well, big up to your damn self. Before we head out, G, anything to let the people know?
Guys, 5:30, what's the time now? 4:45. Yeah, 5:30. I'm dropping a video called The Pep Effect. So yeah, just talking about Pep Linders, his influence, Buvac as well, his influence on the club, and just things that have just been kind of going on in and around Liverpool and stuff like that. So yeah, stay tuned. 5:30, I'll be dropping that video.
Yeah, we go. And Jammer asking, have I ever been to Miami? Nope, I haven't been to Miami because the amount my friends have spent in Miami, I would never spend. I would never spend. Very comfortable in my domain and going to Asia or something like that with that amount of money. It's a joke. They're talking 5K like on a night out.
Yeah, that's loose. Yeah, I'm all right. I'm good.
It's crazy. But I know.
Let me stay in my lane.
I know Jamrock's got that money up there, innit? So if you want to go and fund that trip for us, let us know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yo, we'll do shows out in Miami, bro.
We could do a Miami thing, man. We could do a Miami thing. And big up, Jamrock, this is the last thing as well. I think this is what I want to end it on. Stop blaming Pep. Stop blaming FSG. Klopp is his boss. Klopp is the face of it. He needs to take the brunt. Gio saying, you guys are invited to the Arsenal parade for the league. It begins Thursday after City lose. Man. Anyway, cool. Oh, man. It's been the J Show. It's been the Transfer Hub. Make sure we're smashing the like, subscribing, and we're out, people.